Of the Gwinnett County Board of Education, I hereby call to order our February 2023 business meeting of the board. I extend a warm welcome to everyone present for tonight's meeting. The board, Superintendent Dr. Watts, and I are pleased that you have joined us as we celebrate achievements, review information, and make policy decisions related to the effective operations of Gwinnett County Public Schools. The board began at 2 p.m. for our monthly work session. During work sessions, we hear reports on student achievement, school operations, and system-wide initiatives. We also may discuss items that the board will be acting upon in tonight's business meeting. Please visit our board agenda online next week to see any of the detailed reports for the work session. The monthly business meeting of the board are open to the public. We are grateful for the number of people interested in our schools that are in attendance tonight. This business meeting is when the board conducts its business of governing the school system in a public arena. The business meetings are not meetings with the public. Therefore, comments from the audience will be confined to the time designated for citizens to address the board according to policy BCBI. We ask everyone in attendance to follow the expected behavior and decorum during our board meetings as posted outside of the boardroom and on our website. Please be reminded that in accordance with board policy BCBI, speakers' comments shall be directed to the board as a body and not as an individual board member. Also, speakers may offer objective criticisms of school operations and programs, but in public sessions, please refrain from making personal complaints regarding any person connected to the school system. Other channels, such as using the board member GCPS email addresses regarding a policy or board business of the board's webpage, or the myschoolboard@gcpsk12.org email address regarding district-related topics on our board webpage. These provide a space for board members and staff to hear legitimate complaints involving individuals. We ask that you extend that courtesy to our board and to all speakers by listening respectfully and by refraining from making comments or sounds while others are speaking. Disruptions to this meeting will be addressed swiftly, and if any individual does not stop the disruptive behavior when asked, they will be asked to leave the boardroom. Individuals refusing to leave the boardroom upon request are subject to further action. Please keep in mind that this meeting is being recorded. Individuals who are observed on recordings being disruptive or otherwise failing to comply with the meeting rules may be subject to further action, but limited to referral to local prosecuting agencies. We appreciate your cooperation as we conduct an effective business meeting that is orderly and safe for all. We simply will not and cannot let misbehavior have a negative impact on the important work that we, as a governing body, are doing for the children of this county. I understand that we may not always agree on matters. However, I think we should all agree that decency and civility are important. Thank you for embracing these qualities and modeling them for our children, our community, during tonight's business meeting. Please silence your cell phones or communication devices before we begin our proceedings. I would like to call to the podium Pastor Tito Ruiz, Senior Pastor of Stone Mill Church, Atlanta, located in Berkeley Lake. He will lead us into a moment of reflection, followed by the Shiloh High School Air Force JROTC, who will present the colors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
First of all, I like the Ruiz. Very well. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Chairperson Dr. Johnson, board members, and Superintendent Watts. It is actually very special for me to be here this evening. You don't know this, but once every other month, a group of pastors, church leaders, community members, we gather at Duluth High School, and we pray for the students of Gwinnett County, the teachers, administrators. We pray for blessings for each and every one of the board members, and we pray for you, Dr. Watts. So it is finally, it is a good moment for me to see the faces that we're praying for. So thank you for having me this evening. You're welcome. As we come together, also I bring greetings from Stone Mill Church Atlanta. We are a fully bilingual, multi-ethnic model of ministry in the Berkeley Lake, Duluth area. And when I preach in English and Spanish at the same time. So you may want to come and check us out. As we come together, we demonstrate wisdom, we demonstrate integrity, respect, and grace in our interactions with each other. Let us acknowledge the many good things around us and ways we can be a blessing to others. Thank you to those in the audience who lend their leadership and service to our schools and our community. We also extend appreciation to the many different people, our families, our teachers, and others in the community who support public education and our public school students. Finally, let us keep the children of Gwinnett County in mind as we speak, act, and make decisions tonight. With that in mind, I want to ask you to join me in a moment of silence for personal reflection about our students, our school district, and our greater community. Thank you. I ask you that you remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guard, halt. Half left about, march. Color guard, halt. Present, colors.
Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry, colors. Half right about, march. Forward, march.
Thank you, Pastor Ruiz. Thank you, Shiloh High School, Air Force, JROTC, under the leadership of Master Sergeant Demetrius Cook and Master Sergeant Jerry Jones, for being part of this meeting. At this time, we move to the election of our board vice chair. As a reminder, the appointment of the board vice chair was tabled from the January 19, 2023 business meeting. At this time, I will accept any names the board wishes to nominate for the position of board vice chair for 2023.
I
Thank you,
nominate,
Dr.
oh, thank you,
Therese.
Dr. Reese.
I nominate Steve Knudsen for the position of Board Vice Chair for 2023.
We have the name of the current vice chair, Steve Knudsen, submitted for board vice chair for 2023. Do I have any other nominations?
Oh, you were supposed to ask for a second.
No.
No, another. Okay. You have to get a second
Mm,
in blue.
We need to second
You
the
need to second the
nomination.
nomination and then you move on.
Do I have a second?
And then now for, okay,
Do I have a name of the second nominee for Board Vice Chair for 2023?
yes, I nominate Dr. Adrian Simmons.
I second the nomination.
All in favor? I'm sorry, all in favor of current Vice Chair, Mr. Knudsen, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Congratulations, Vice Chair, for 2023, Mr. Steve Knudsen. Wait, one moment. Okay, to be clear, may I call for a second nominee?
Oh, yeah,
To vote nominates on the second nominee.
yes. Okay, so,
All in favor of Dr. Simmons for Vice Chair, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Congratulations, Board Vice Chair, Mr. Steve Knudsen for 2023. Got it? Okay. We move next to public comment on the agenda items. With the board's approval of revisions to policy BCBI, public participation at board meetings, the Gwinnett County School Board will provide constituents with multiple opportunities to address the board during the monthly scheduled board meetings. Constituents will be able to choose the section in which they would like to provide their comments. Constituents can sign up to speak during either the public comment on the agenda items section or the public comment on the school policy or operations section. At this time, we will hear public comments from 5 constituents regarding agenda items. A maximum of 10 speaker slots were available for the public comment on agenda items section. Those selected to participate were notified via email this morning. We ask again that you extend courtesy to our board and all speakers by listening respectfully and refraining from making comments or sounds while others are speaking during this time and during the public comment on school policy operations, which occurs later in the evening. Citizens addressing the board, you will notice 2 side podiums. Please come to the podium closest to you where we are sitting. At this time, Jim Rogers, please approach the podium closest to you. And Joshana Graves, you are on deck on the other podium. Each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes for comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, board. My name is Jim Roger. My subject tonight is the sex education program for Gwinnett County and the fact that the county is evaluating a new sex education program. I taught at Duluth High School for 7 years, Stone Mountain 10 years, retired in 2020 after serving 26 years in the Navy. I personally taught the Gwinnett County sex ed program, Choosing the Best, and it's an outstanding program. I had great reviews from all my cadets. I, in JROTC, taught the physical education program, the health program. So I had a chance to teach this, and it focused on the impacts of making bad decisions with regard to premature sex. You know, STDs, of course, unwanted pregnancies at that age, and even, you know, something more significant is, not as more significant, but as significant as the severe emotional roller coaster that students get on getting themselves into this situation at that age. Choosing the Best does a great job talking about the other option, abstinence, but it doesn't trivialize it and make it look like it's happy talk, you know, that it can just happen like that, because it's very hard at the high school age to abstain. But it gives strategies, recommendations, And it's really character development. It builds virtue. It tries to encourage these students to treat others with respect and love them as God wants us to love our neighbor, which means not the happy talk like Hollywood, the emotions, but a love that is wishing the good of the other. And that abstinence program, actually, the safe sex, that is focused on the Health Smart and the the Good Heart Wilcox. We all know there is no safe sex, and the Choosing the Best program detailed that condoms or contraceptives aren't 100%, and that there are consequences. And that's my big concern, and that's why I addressed the board with a letter to each of you. 1 week ago, I wrote it and sent it into the board. And I only have 38 seconds left, but there was a review by 500 parents, a small review, and over 90% rejected, summarily rejected this new move to go to these safe sex type sex ed programs, getting away from this outstanding Choosing the Best. I encourage you to look at the Choosing the Best website. They have testimonials. They have all sorts of research. Gwinnett County did far better than adjacent counties with respect to pregnancy and STDs after the Choosing the Best. And I thank you for your time.
Next, we have Joshana Graves. Oh, there you are. And after Joshana Graves, we have Rachel Ulrich.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you and for allowing me to share. Hello, Dr. Calvin, Dr. Johnson, Mr. Stephen, Mrs. Karen, Dr. Mary, and Dr. Simmons. Thank you for allowing me to share. My name is Shanna Shine. That is my name as well as my company. I'm an author, speaker, as well as a coach. And not only that, a talk show host and owner. And the main thing that I'm here to share with you about is we would like to partner with non-counseling on mentorship to empower the youth in our community through relationships. And so me having gone through different challenges as a teenager that went into my adulthood, I write about it. I wrote about it. And not only that, put it in a way where we all can sit and heal from it. And it's really needed, especially with the mental health challenges that our youth has had to face, especially dealing with COVID. And so I created the tools and resources. Not only that, I am on a mission to just serve and be there for our youth and our community. And there's so many more great opportunities and advice as well as different areas that I would like to expand on, but with time being limited, I do have my business cards as well on my website, and I thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing more.
Thank you. Now we have Rachel Ulrich.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Watts. My name is Rachel Ulrich. I'm a parent, a weekly school volunteer, and a physical therapist. I'm here tonight to advocate for the health of all students, regardless of sexuality or gender. I truly believe this is your goal as well. But I'm also here to urge the board to vote in accordance with the voice of your constituents. The good news is these two goals are one and the same. The results of the survey you administered recently regarding comprehensive sex education were clear. The proposed curricula was rejected by over 90% of the Gwinnett citizens who reviewed them. This is likely due to the understanding, as Jim explained, that the safest practice for all students, regardless of sexuality or gender, is abstinence. Does this sound too outdated, idealistic? A reasonable objection, until you consider the evidence. According to the Georgia Department of Public Health, teen pregnancy has actually decreased by 75% since our abstinence-based curriculum was implemented. Furthermore, our STD rates have been consistently lower than surrounding areas. Although there may be other factors at play, it's hard to argue with this success. Admittedly, finding a curriculum that best serves all students is a daunting task, and y'all have a hard job. But with these positive outcomes, why would the board consider moving away from what is working? Why would you go against majority vote? Why not implement the latest version of Choosing the Best instead, which was updated as recently as 2022? Lastly, personally, I know from experience that abstinence is possible. My parents believed in me enough to teach me abstinence, and my husband and I were both abstinent until we married in our early 30s. While we have the typical minor challenges of any marriage, sure, we have found that this approach has yielded strength and unity to our relationship. I urge you board members to give all students this chance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Ivan Wheatley, and after Ivan Wheatley is Nicholas DiCarlo.
Hello, good evening. I'd like to speak tonight as well about comprehensive sex education as a topic. For many years, GCPS has utilized an excellent abstinence-based sex education program called Choosing the Best. The program, which was updated through the years, strongly promotes abstinence by teaching students respect for themselves and others and the benefits of delaying sex, ideally for marriage. Gwinnett teens pregnancy rate has decreased by 75%, and its teen pregnancy and STD rates have been consistently lower than most of metropolitan Atlanta and Georgia. Despite the success of the Choosing the Best curriculum, their current school board has decided not to obtain or pilot the most updated Choosing the Best edition. Further, the Sex Education Committee was not given a chance to review it. Instead, the GCPS is piloting Help Smart. In January 19th, a board meeting of Denise Rumbaugh and Amy Cook did an excellent job outlining the dangers that they and I see in this curriculum. And the notes from Jim and Rachel tonight also point on other strong aspects of this. But tonight, I instead take a different perspective and request your transparency to the public body that you represent. Here, in October of 2022, GPS hosted a page on their website which allows parents and citizens the ability to review the Health Smart curriculum and provide their opinion if they are supportive or not of this curriculum being used in our schools. This review was not only available to the public, or I'm sorry, this review was only available to the public from October 1st through the 31st, but as of last night, the page is no longer available on GCPS website. I participated in this polling, and like hundreds of other residents who did, we would like to know the cumulative results directly from GCPS and how the results are going to be used in the decision-making process on sex education. It wasn't until this week when business representatives in our county took matters into their own hands to exercise the Freedom of Information Act and get the results from the public polling. Some of those results are being shared here tonight. It's this lack of transparency that has me wondering, why hasn't GCPS shared the results of the Health Smart polling with the public? How will Health Smart polling results, which found that over 90% of Gwinnett parents and citizens who participated rejected Health Smart curriculum as being inappropriate? How will that be used in the board's decision on comprehensive sex education? When is the board planning to make a decision on comprehensive sex education?
Thank you. Next, we have Nicholas DiCarlo.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak before the board. I'm a parent here in Gwinnett County, and I'm also here to talk about the sex ed program. My intention is to be another voice against the proposed change. I'm coming from a little bit different perspective than or along the same vein, but a slightly different nuance to it. I'd like to begin by making mention of the fact that that education of the youth about sex is the right and the duty of parents and not the state. When, however, a program is implemented, it's to be hoped that it will contain and teach the truth. The concern about the proposed programs obscuring the importance of abstinence, not as a technique to avoid pregnancy or STDs, but as an actual positive activity of preserving oneself for a future spouse. The other truths that are obscured in the proposed programs are the complementarity that exists between the sexes as male and female. They also implicitly deny the truth that sex belongs only within the stability of marriage, as mentioned with the concerns about abstinence. I would just say that without the willingness to clearly and lovingly hold the bar high for the youth, to tell them the truth, we're certainly going to see harm affected in their lives and in our society at large. And this doesn't mean that care shouldn't be shown to anyone who falls short of a given standard. They should certainly be met with compassion and with encouragement, but it would be a terrible mistake to act as if there is no standard to achieve and that there is no reality to hold on to when it comes to the area of our sexuality, which is what the proposed program teaches either in different places directly or implicitly based on what I observed when I reviewed it when it was up for review. So I sincerely hope that these programs won't be adopted for the protection of our youth and for Gwinnett County as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. We will now move to the next item on our agenda, the adoption of the agenda. Superintendent Dr. Watts, do you have any changes to the agenda?
I have no changes to the agenda.
Board members, thank you. Board members, do we have any changes to the agenda? Board members, do I have a motion regarding the agenda?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adopt the agenda for the February 23rd, 2023 business meeting.
I have a motion by Mary Kay Murphy. Do we have, Dr. Murphy, do we have a second? Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. It's unanimous. At this time, we move to board recognition. Dr. Watts.
Thank you, Chairperson Dr. Therese. To bring us our first recognition, I call on Kristen Luthid, Director of Science, K through 5. Welcome.
Hello. Good evening, Dr. Therese, Chairperson, Dr. Watts, and board members. Tonight, I'm pleased to recognize outstanding performance in elementary school science. On behalf of the K-5 Science Office, I am honored to recognize the outstanding support and leadership of Miss Melissa Barth from Harbins Elementary School. Melissa Barth was named the 2023 Don Cargill STEM Scholar. The Don Cargill STEM Scholar Award is awarded to top science educators who engage their students in imaginative classroom lessons that support the areas of science, math, technology, and engineering education within the classroom. I had the pleasure earlier this month to accompany Miss Barth to the Georgia State Capitol as she and the other scholars were recognized for their hard work by the Georgia General Assembly. Ms. Barth has not only made a positive impact within her classroom by providing high-quality hands-on science instruction, but has also launched student projects that have reached far beyond the classroom to involve the entire school community, parents, colleagues, and regional leaders who are STEM professionals and supporters. As the director of K-5 Science, I am honored to spotlight Mrs. Barth's project titled Growing Our Learning Gardens at Harbins Elementary School. In the Learning Gardens at Harbins Elementary, students are engaged in hands-on real-world science AKS through the lens of Ag STEM. From raising chicks, to harvesting eggs, to composting food waste, to researching and growing vegetables to send home to local families, this project has positively impacted each and every student at Hardman's Elementary School. And I know this because my daughters come home and talk about it every single day. Ms. Barth is accompanied tonight by her proud assistant principal, Ms. Courtney Bernardo, Chairperson Dr. Therese, board members, Superintendent Watts. Our department is grateful for your continued support of K-5 science instruction across the district, of Ms. Barth and the other elementary school teachers who are helping us provide high quality and hands-on experiences to our youngest scientists. Most importantly, they are helping our students achieve the mission of Gwinnett County Public Schools by pursuing excellence in academic knowledge, skills, and behavior for each and every student. Please join me one last time in congratulating Ms. Melissa Barth.
Congratulations again, Ms. Barth, on this recognition, and thank you for your hard work in integrating effective STEM education in your classroom, and thank you, Ms. Luthi, as well. Next up is Mr. Ed Shaddix, Director of Athletics, for our next 3 recognitions. Mr. Shaddix, welcome.
We'll begin with our esports, gentlemen. Chairperson Therese, Superintendent Watts, members of the board, it is a pleasure to be before you tonight. This is a program we started a couple of years ago. I think you'll see extreme differences in the 2 groups we're bringing before you tonight. And part of that reason, what we know very effectively with what we do is engage kids do well. All engaged kids, co-curricular, extracurricular. They attend school more, they behave better, they graduate, and they persist after graduation. So engage kids, and you allowed us to start this program last year. I've been waiting for this for a long time. We have our first esports championship for the state of Georgia from Duluth High School. They won the GHSA state champions, and I had to look this up, in a game called League of Legends. It's their second year of competing in esports, and their first state champion, and they finished second last year. On behalf of the school, here's Eric Davidson.
All right, thank you, Board. Chairman Dr. Therese, Superintendent Watts, and Board, thank you. We want to echo Mr. Shaddix's sentiments about providing the funding and resources for us to do this. It wasn't a small thing. We're very, very thankful and appreciative for that. We're super proud of our esports team, our state champions, who after finishing second last year in the state, went undefeated this season and capturing our first state championship in esports. We're very proud of them and their accomplishment. And again, thankful to you for allowing us the resources to do so. Not every system is as blessed as we are in that regard, so we're thankful. Here with me today are Chris Hall, Assistant Principal and Athletic Activities Director. Lucas Jones is one of our head coaches. Charles Crane can't be here. He's also our lacrosse coach. And our players, I want to introduce Corey Chin, who's a senior. We have Paul Shim, who also is a senior. Philip Cho is a sophomore, so future here. Brian Doe is a senior. And Christian Napier is also a senior. They all also happen to be outstanding students, members of our chamber orchestras, and represent our school with excellence within this program, and also just up and down the hallways, make us proud in everything they do. So we're very proud of the hard work that the coaches and players have put in, especially for the way they conduct themselves, and just want to congratulate them publicly. And again, thank you all.
Congratulations.
Again, congratulations to you, Mr. Shaddix.
Those, when you think of gaming, a little bit more about that. You think of playing games. Well, the co-curricular piece to that is obviously computer science, coding, marketing, business. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry that we need to tap into. There's a couple of young men on that team that when they graduate will make more money than I do because of this. So there is this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that is massive. So we're very excited about the opportunities it provides for our students. Moving forward, we have Mill Creek Competitive Cheer. They're won the GHSA 7A state champions. This is Mill Creek's 7th overall state championship in competitive cheer, and I know you see them right behind me. There's a reason they won 7 because they're competing tonight again in something else. So here to talk about them is Jason Lane, the principal.
Thank you, Mr. Shaddix. Chairperson, Dr. Treese, members of the board, Superintendent Watts. Again, thank you for recognizing our athletes here this evening. As Mr. Shaddix said, our coach and most of our athletes could not be here because they're also competing in game day cheer. I believe that's at Columbus State, competing tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning. But we do have some remarks on behalf of the coach. Our athletic director, Mr. Travis Tecco, has some remarks on behalf of Coach Katie Fowler.
Chairperson Dr. Treese, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Watts, again, thank you for letting us be here. Here's Coach Fowler's sentiments about the 2022 season. This season, the Cheerhawks were in the middle of an undefeated regular season when we faced unimaginable difficulties. On October 30th, one of our team members, Caitlin Pollock, passed away in a tragic car accident. With only 2 weeks left in our season, these kids were left with a very difficult decision as to whether to continue on with the season without their friend by their side. Ultimately, we decided to dedicate the rest of the season to Caitlin because we knew she would want us to continue. As a coach, it was by far the most difficult thing I've had to lead kids through, but it was also the most rewarding. I saw these kids cry together, grieve together, and ultimately come together to replace their friend in this routine and perform it to the best of their ability in her honor. We got first place at sectionals, won the state championship, and completed our season as undefeated state champions. This is our 7th overall state championship for this program, but this win will always be a little sweeter. We hope we made you proud, KP. Also, thank you to the board for your continued support of athletics in Gwinnett County Public Schools. We all feel very blessed to work here. Thank you.
My last presentation tonight is also Mill Creek football team. They won the GHSA 7A state championship this year. Mill Creek beat Carrollton 70-35 to win 2022 7A football state championship. This is Mill Creek football's first state football championship in its 19-year history. Mill Creek finished the season with a 14-1 record. Here to speak for the school is Dr. Jason Lane.
Once again, Chairperson Dr. Treese, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Watts, thank you again for being here and letting us recognize our football team. As Mr. Shaddix said, we're very happy. I feel like dancing right now, but I'm not a good dancer. Every high school principal wants to win in everything, but especially in football, it's a big, big thing. But from the principal seat, it's not too often that we get to talk about the longevity of coaches in our program, especially in large suburban high schools, that coaches stick around for a long time. Our school is 19 years old, and I'm proud to say that just on our football staff, we have 3 members of our coaching staff that have been at our school since it opened that are still on our team. One of those, luckily for us, is our head coach, Coach Josh Lovelady, who's been there since the doors opened in 2004. Coach Lovelady's dedication, passion, and perseverance is exactly what led us as a program to achieve this great thing. And I can tell you, not only as a principal, but as a dad of a former football player at Mill Creek and a current football player at Mill Creek, we are very, very happy and honored to have Coach Lovelady as our coach. So Coach is going to talk to you now about the team and their season.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Without good leadership, this doesn't happen, especially in the local school level. Chairperson Dr. Treese, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Watts, thank you for having us. This is an awesome honor for us. I'm excited to be here with some of our players from this year's championship team. We do have a few folks that are in other sports. That's what's great about Mill Creek. We do have a lot of kids that do different things. But I do have, and some guys that are already in school, which is awesome. They've already graduated early and are at their schools, attending school and going to college. Representing our team behind me, and if they'll just step or wave, Hayden Clark, Bryce Bothwell, Cooper Bothwell, Nick Denick, Nick Maxey, Cam Robinson, Josh Anglin, Cole Mullins, Aiden Banfield. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know you have busy schedules and a lot to do. One thing I'm proud of too, every one of these individuals behind me wore baggy little, and I got to see as the year went on, moms would send me, some of them right here were captains of an 8-year-old Mill Creek GFL team. Every one of these kids played in GFL for our youth program. Many more that are not be able to come tonight. So in a time where people are kind of going to the next best thing or moving around, whatever it is, just like me, they want to be at Mill Creek. They want to be at Mill Creek not only for football, but the main thing is to get a great education, the rigor of preparing them for the future things in their life, whether it's college, technical, military, whatever it may be, as well as maybe the tools in the toolbox to be great husbands one day, great fathers, and great leaders in our community. These are an unbelievable group of young men that won the state championship. Not only they're leaders on and off the field. Our team GPA is a astonishing 3.5. I'm very proud of it. And that's one of the things I'll start off with. It's not about the wins and losses, because those are things that will open the doors past the state championship, and they know it, and they believe in being that part of the student athlete. I'm proud of how unselfish. If you had the opportunity to see us this year, they were such a team, big team, little me squad. Guys, it didn't matter who got the ball, who got touches or whatever it is. All they did was want to win. And if you saw behind the scenes, a lot of times I'd be late putting practice schedules and I go to lock the doors, whatever it is, and I still had some of them hanging out. They loved each other. They love playing for each other, and they love representing Mill Creek in our community. And it's exciting to see them and all that work come together. I do also want to sit there and thank them for the culture, all right, that they put at Mill Creek. We often talk about being that target, having that Mill Creek oval on the side of your helmet. It represents something bigger than self. And they know it, and we preach it every day as far as how you walk around in the classroom, in our community, and the leadership you have. We have the motto, impact. And I challenge them to make an impact every day, whether it's your family, community, classroom, and on the field. And they did, and I'm extremely proud of them. I also want to sit there and thank our coaching staff. Without our coaches, I think these guys behind me would tell you, we would never got close to what we did, to accomplishing what we did this year. They are also great leaders in their classroom. Coach Mr. Lane and Coach Tecco behind me, and can probably attest that they are some of the pillars of Mill Creek High School, on and off. I also want to thank the hidden gems, and that's our wives of our coaching staff and their families. It's a year-round program at Mill Creek. We're already working out. Several of these guys behind me working out in the gym today, doing off-season workouts. It's a long season, and it's not just a Monday through Friday job. It's 7 days a week. And I also want to thank, like I said, not only the wives and families of those coaches, but also my wife, Shannon, and my 3 kids for the support they have in pulling for the Hawks all year long. The other folks I want to thank is our community. It's been 19 years. We were a program that was broke off from a cluster, mostly Deculus and Collins Hill. We had some rough times, all right, starting off. But we believed in, and with the coaching staff that we started this program with a long time ago, building it brick by brick and trying to do it the right way. Yes, do we have some things that you have to? We're working with kids, all right? Things are going to take a step back sometimes, even to take 2 steps forward. But they believed in the process. Our parents trusted, all right, us, and our kids trusted us, all right, that we were going to stay on the path to do some great things. And again, it's not just about wins and losses. When it comes to football, it's about the things that they learn from the game, get knocked down, get back up, all right, working as a team, doing a collaborative effort, all those things that we have. And I also want to thank the alumni. There's a lot of Hawks before that we talked about this year, and these guys know it. that had to stack, just even getting the first win. Then we're going to getting the first region win. Then we're going to region championships. To get to this point, it was a long road, but we got there, and we're very excited about representing this community. So again, I want to thank on behalf of our coaching staff, our players, and our community. Thank you. All right, thank you for all the support that you put on for athletics here in Gwinnett County. It is the best. All right. And I wouldn't be here, and these guys wouldn't stay here in Gwinnett County if they didn't believe in the blend that they get as a student athlete here at Mill Creek, as well as Gwinnett County. We are proud to represent Gwinnett County and Mill Creek and our community for being recognized tonight. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Well done to each and every one of our teams on the impressive state championship wins. And thank you, Mr. Shaddix. Before you step away, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank you for your service to Gwinnett County Public Schools as you prepare to, we'll just call it, for your professional graduation, to transition to that next chapter in your life. We appreciate all that you've done for the youth and the adults who serve them in Gwinnett County Public Schools. Thank you.
Dr. Watts. I appreciate that.
Thank you. For our final recognition of the night, I call on Gary Caldwell, Director of Behavior Interventions and Supports. Mr. Caldwell, welcome.
I must say, I think I can score a touchdown behind those group of guys. So, thank you. Good evening, Board Chairperson Dr. Therese, Board Members, Superintendent Dr. Watts. As Director of Behavior Support and Interventions, our office is under the umbrella of the Student Services Department led by Dr. Tanisha Parker and oversees the district implementation of PBIS. My Assistant Director, Monique Lee, serves as our district coordinator and liaison to the school climate specialist with the Georgia Department of Education. Each year, the Georgia DOE recognizes schools and programs that have created and maintained a positive school climate through the implementation of positive behavior interventions and supports. The Georgia DOE recently recognized 8 GCPS schools as PBI's distinguished schools for their hard work and commitment to supporting students through the implementation of PBIS. The Georgia Department of Education recognizes schools at 4 different levels: installing, emerging, operational, and distinguished. PBI schools recognized as distinguished are at the highest level of designation and have completed the required state implementation training at both the Tier 1 and Tier 2 levels and have met all the required data outcome parameters, which include percentage change of number of office disciplinary referrals, in-school suspension, and out-of-school suspension. Also, the Georgia Department of Education State Superintendent Richard Woods issued a letter addressed to Dr. Watts in recognition of the GCPS schools that received the operational and distinguished designation that I will leave with you this evening. At this time, I would like to recognize the following schools with a certificate from the Gwinnett County Board of Education and a distinguished certificate of recognition from the Georgia Department of Education, from my right to my left. Dye Elementary, Principal Michael DeFilippo. Harmony Elementary, Principal Jonathan Day. Hopkins Elementary, Principal Gabriel Zaragoza, who's represented by Assistant Principal Dr. Melissa Cable. Cunnahader Elementary, Principal Dr. Janita Morrow. Meadow Creek Elementary, Principal Adrian Tedesco. Moore Middle, Principal Lamont Mays. Far Elementary, Principal Dr. Shamarlis Allens. Sugar Hill Elementary, Principal Dr. Nick Boyers. Congratulations again, and thank you, principals, to your staff for your dedication to the students of Gwinnett County Public Schools. Thank you, Chairperson Dr. Therese, board members, Superintendent Dr. Watts, for your support of our office as we continue to support schools to reduce behavior factors that are barriers to student achievement. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Caldwell, and congratulations again, principals and staff, on your school's recognition of its commitment in supporting students through the implementation of PBIS. Again, thank you, Mr. Caldwell, for your support. Chairperson Dr. Therese.
Dr. Watts, we now move to group and external presentations.
Thank you. At this time, 6.01, Community and Cluster Input, Shiloh Cluster. The Board of Education wishes to hear from constituents regarding what they believe to be the accomplishments, challenges, and aspirations for their cluster schools. Each monthly business meeting of the board will include a presentation from a cluster or groups of schools. Tonight, we will hear from representatives from our Shiloh cluster, which includes schools in District 4. This time, I call on Dr. Melissa Walker, Cluster Superintendent, to introduce the presenters for this evening. Dr. Walker.
Good evening, Chairperson Dr. Therese, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Watts. As you mentioned, I'm Melissa Walker, and I have the honor to support and serve the principals, staff, students, parents, and families of the Shiloh cluster as their cluster superintendent. Through my involvement with the Shiloh cluster, I have observed what makes the Shiloh community a cluster focused on meeting the unique needs of each and every child. Tonight, we're going to share how the Shiloh cluster has been and continues to be relentless in ensuring each and every child graduates. The cluster principals align their work to our portrait of a graduate. Tonight, you will hear how the Shiloh cluster is implementing our blueprint for the future with an emphasis on opportunity and access. Access and community engagement begins early in the Shiloh cluster in our Play to Learn programs in the elementary schools and in our pre-K program at Anderson-Livesey. You will also hear about the dual language immersion program and the international baccalaureate programs along with the academy cluster. Our students and families are proud to be Shiloh Generals. Tonight, you will hear from a student who attended Annistown Elementary, Shiloh Middle School, and is currently a senior, Joy Nelson. Joy is a member of the Beta Club. She is duly enrolled in college courses and is an honors Spanish student. Mrs. Rita McGill is a teacher at Shiloh High School who serves as our World Language Department Chair, and she teaches IB and Spanish honors classes. Mrs. McGill will share how she, along with the other teachers in the cluster, focus on meeting the needs of each and every student. Dr. Danielle Dollard, Shiloh High School principal, will highlight what it means to be a Shiloh General and how the Shiloh cluster is bringing our blueprint for the future to life. It is my honor to introduce the principals who are responsible for leading this work, and I, along with the board and Dr. Watts, appreciate your leadership and dedication. In her first year as principal at Anderson-Livesey is Miss Joanne Vigilant. She has been in education for 26 years, and prior to coming to Gwinnett, she served as principal in Arizona for 14 years. Mr. David Baker, he is here tonight representing Annistown Elementary for Principal Ms. Gwenda Nemo Smith. Mr. Baker has 21 years in education, and he has served for the past 4 years at Annistown. Mrs. Benita Banks, she is in her 7th year as principal at Centerville. This is Mrs. Banks' 29th year in education, and 18 of those years have been here in Gwinnett. Mrs. Jennifer Clowers, she is in her 3rd year as principal at Partee Elementary. She also has 20 years in education and has served Gwinnett for 7 of these years. Mrs. Jennifer Mercedes was recently appointed in December as the Shiloh Elementary principal. She has 21 years in education with 16 in Gwinnett. Mr. Chris Best, he's in his 1st year as principal at Shiloh Middle School with 20 years in education, all in Gwinnett. And leading our presentation this evening, Dr. Danielle Dollard, principal of Shiloh High School. Dr. Dollard has served as principal for the past 8 years and has served our Gwinnett community for 17 years with 28 years in education. Again, thank you for your leadership, and at this time, Dr. Danielle Dollard.
Good evening and greetings from the Shiloh cluster, where it is always a great day to be a general. Dr. Therese, board chairperson, members of the board, Dr. Watts, I am Dr. Dollard, and I have the amazing privilege of serving as the principal of Shiloh High School. My cluster mates and I would like to thank you for allowing us to serve in this capacity as principals and the opportunity to speak on the great things happening in our cluster. Shiloh is located in the most southern tip of Gwinnett County, and we serve over 7,400 students in our cluster schools. When you ask about Shiloh, everyone will tell you, we are relentless. We can't stop, and we won't stop ensuring that each and every student in our cluster feels a sense of belonging. We all take pride in being generals. Through our cluster-wide PBIS program, each school stresses the importance of being prepared and respectful, showing integrity, and being disciplined and engaged in all that we do. We are Team Shiloh. The Shiloh cluster is represented by dedicated staff, diverse students, and a supportive community. Within our schools, the path to excellence begins with empathy. To help our students grasp the possibilities available to them, we must first understand them. Each school in the Shiloh cluster hosts celebrations to celebrate our students' cultures. One of the most popular events is International Night. This celebration builds strong relationships with our community. We make sure that our international community of staff and students know we see you and we want to hear you. The celebrations include regional dances, displays of native dress, and an array of food representing each culture. This tradition of celebrating who we are is represented in the high school, where our students lead the activities representing their culture. I had the honor of watching students apply henna art to visitors, and I also purchased a pair of handcrafted bratwurst earrings. This month, as well as throughout the district, we are all celebrating Black History Month. As a matter of fact, Shiloh's Black History Month program is taking place as we speak. Our level of international inclusion broadens as we are a dual immersion cluster for Spanish. We're happy to announce that our students who have been taking Spanish at the elementary level have matriculated through the middle school and will be amongst a special cohort of students to be the first in the nation to be identified as dual language immersion students entering high school with a K-12 experience. Our students will be fluent in Spanish and enrolled in Spanish 4 as freshmen in high school. We are extremely proud of this accomplishment for our students. Participation in the dual language immersion program expands our students' access and opportunities to programs such as the International Baccalaureate Program, referred to as IB. In the IB program, students learn how to be critical thinkers with an international mindset. Other accelerated opportunities our students embrace are dual enrollment and AP opportunities. As an academy cluster, we focus on preparing our students for college and careers. Within each of our elementary and middle schools, you'll see classes, clubs, and events aligned with the academy pathways. Shiloh High School is home to the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math STEM Academy, Wellness, Health, and Education, fondly referred to as the WE Academy, and the Business, Arts, and Marketing Academy, also known as BAM. Students have exposure to real-world problems when they participate in coding, marketing, student advisory, student ambassador, and other leadership programs. We have award-winning hosted chapters, Junior Leadership Corps, JLC, RLTC, and robotics. We're excited about our middle school robotics team advancing to the regionals competition. At the high school level, students have the opportunity to participate in the first CVS mock pharmacy lab, participate in the Snellville Youth Association, as well as hosted our first annual cluster-wide fall festival. We are Team Shiloh. Understanding that our blueprint focuses on a supportive community as well as the academic press, taking on the charge of supporting the whole child is at the core of what we do in the Shiloh cluster. Together, we all have a focus on the well-being of our students' social, emotional, and academic needs. We are privileged to house 2 social workers in our cluster, along with 2 behavior coaches. We are one of a few grateful clusters who has been paired with the mental health counseling program. We are able to offer services to our students and families like we have never been able to do before. Setting a strong academic foundation is what we believe will allow our students to be successful in the many programs we offer. As a team of collaborators, our elementary, middle, and high school teachers have been a recipient of the district's vertical grant program for several years. This grant allows teachers to know what is expected at each level so that they can prepare our students to reach the highest levels of excellence. Teachers and administrators collaborate, review data, assess level assessments, and do walkthroughs at all levels. There's nothing like watching elementary teachers opening their eyes and seeing stoichiometry being taught in chemistry classes, while our middle and high school teachers get a real glimpse of differentiated instruction at its best at the elementary level. These rich experiences allow our teachers to provide an inclusive learning experience for our students so that they can begin to think about, dream about, and reach whatever goal they so choose. This dream was a reality for so many of our students, as the Shiloh cluster had one of the highest graduation rates increase for the class of 2022. In the Shiloh cluster, we are relentless. We can't stop and we won't stop ensuring that each and every person in the cluster has a sense of belonging. We are Team Shiloh. To continue elaborating on the rich experience of being a general, I invite Spanish teacher Rita McGill to the podium. She will be followed by senior Joy Nelson. Ms. McGill.
Good evening, Board Chairperson Dr. Therese, members of the board, and Dr. Watts. My name is Rita Pruce McGill, and I've been a general since 2016. In 2014, I shadowed the IB teacher at Shiloh while working elsewhere. And as you can see, it was meant to be, because this is where I am now. I was contacted the following spring and replaced the very teacher that I shadowed. It was during the interviews that I felt the sense of belonging that made me decide to make this my home. It was that very feel as well that brought my current 4th grader to the dual language immersion program at Annistown Elementary School and my junior at Shiloh High School into the International Baccalaureate Diploma program. Since starting at Shiloh, I've had the honor of holding many titles, but my passion is most certainly working with the students. In class, as well as in clubs, I spend my time, as do all of our teachers, with our kids in different capacities. 2 of the clubs that I sponsor are the National Honor Society and National Beta Club. We have inducted hundreds of students into those academic extracurriculars. Even though students must maintain and keep a 3.5 GPA for NHS and a 3.0 GPA for Beta, we maintain strong numbers. This says incredible things about our students and their preparation from the beginning of their schooling till now. At the high school level, we host peer tutoring every Thursday evening. We're currently missing it via Zoom for all the high school students in need. Within the cluster, we've hosted fall festivals, international nights, first Lego League tournaments, and spring flings. While these are things that I've personally worked on, I could not have done it without the cluster teachers and my colleagues at Shiloh High School. We've taken high schoolers out into our cluster schools as well to work with teachers, assisting in a spectrum of events such as coding at Centerville Elementary, robotics and dual language events at Annistown Elementary, and working with the Junior Beta Club at Shiloh Middle. We do our best to forge relationships as well as keep them. During our February break, just this past week, we spent an afternoon at the Centerville Senior Community Center playing bingo, learning to play pool, and breaking bread with our elderly mentors. We're also in the works of a relationship with the Centerville Library and have many ideas of where we will take it, including a reading program, as well as expanding our tutoring to elementary levels. As you can see, being a general is more than attending a school. It means unity and relationships. I've worked in 8 different school systems over 20 years in education that all pay only lip service to the philosophy of creating relationships with students. In the Shiloh cluster, it's a requirement. The adage that people do not care what you know until they know that you care rings true for every true general. Not only do we establish these relationships in our own building and across the cluster, but we work to establish these relationships throughout our community. Thank you so much for listening this evening. At this time, I would like to introduce a member of Beta Club, Senior President of La Sociedad Honoraria Hispánica, and a student in my IB class, Joy Nelson.
Thank you, Ms. McGill. Good evening, Board Chairperson, Dr. Therese, members of the board, and Superintendent, Dr. Watts. My name is Joy Nelson, and I am a senior at Shiloh High School. I've been a part of the cluster since kindergarten, starting with Annistown Elementary through Shiloh Middle, bringing me here. Being a part of the cluster has helped me recognize the difficulty in balancing the various levels and dynamics of learning based on the different academic challenges in each class. In elementary school, the questions that Mr. Pat would ask in his advanced math class would differ from the questions Ms. Bryson would ask in her general education 3rd grade class. This helps mold the way we think. The quality of education has definitely impacted the way I handled different levels of classes throughout middle and high school, allowing me to handle classes like Psychology 101 and dual enrollment to general education Algebra 2, from AP Environmental Science to IB Spanish, all the way to gifted physics. Without the challenges of rigor in the courses offered in the Shiloh cluster, I don't believe I will be able to handle the situations that I have encountered in my life and will encounter in the future. Throughout my time in the cluster, classes have provided relevant learning experiences such as project-based lessons that relate to our day-to-day activities. The social emotional lessons during advisement have also been helpful. We have students that work in a mock pharmacy in our building, some work in the school store, and we even have apprenticeships available to us. While we have these opportunities available, even a great program is not perfect. Expanding and improving is always the goal, and these real-life situations help students connect our formal education to our lives. These connections help us navigate through subjects we may want to pursue in future careers or higher education opportunities. Shiloh Cluster provides us with social and emotional and goal-oriented support by way of our counselors and college and career counselors. The addition of specialty positions, such as our relationship with various mental health programs to support self-health, have been benefited us tremendously, especially coming out of a pandemic. The psychologist and social worker give us their very best. The continuance and collaboration, students in our cluster will feel more confident and help supply tools to deal with the challenges that we face in our personal, professional, and educational lives. All in all, the cluster provides a great quality of education for students like me, and the cluster has been a great asset to who I am and what I may bring to my post-secondary education as well as my future. The experience of being a part of the cluster has also given me a sense of belonging, as well as influencing my personality and confidence throughout my 13 years here. Thank you so much, Dr. Therese, Board Chairperson, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Watts for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you all. At this time, I would like to invite Principal Dr. Danielle Dollard to return to the podium to close out our presentation.
Thank you to our student speaker, Joy Nelson, teacher speaker, Ms. Rita McGill, for sharing your experiences. A huge thank you to Ms. Carolyn Alford and the Shiloh Orchestra for providing an amazing ensemble of music this evening. And also a huge thank you to the cluster principals for their leadership. Thank you, Chairperson Dr. Therese, board members, and Dr. Watts for allowing us to serve as leaders in the Shiloh cluster and for all that you do to support schools here in Gwinnett County Public Schools. I would close this presentation the way I close all of my announcements, and that is to remember, it is always a great day to be a general. We love you and we love Shiloh. General salute, Team Shiloh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shiloh Cluster leaders, for your presentation. That's students and adults alike. Thank you, Ms. McGill and Ms. Nelson, for your remarks as well. Chairperson, Dr. Therese.
Thank you, Dr. Watts, and thank you to the generals from Shiloh Cluster. At this time, those that were recognized tonight for their achievements may quietly leave the boardroom, or you may stay for the remainder of the meeting. We will now move to the next item on the agenda. We move to the consent agenda items for approval. The consent agenda items allow the Board of Education to act on routine items of business as a series. If a board member needs clarification regarding an item, it may remain on the consent agenda while the information is provided. If a board member wants to discuss or debate an item, it should be removed from the consent agenda for discussion. Board members, are there any items on the consent agenda that you would like clarified or removed for discussion?
Dr. Therese, thank you. I wondered if we might remove item 7.03, Georgia 1902 NR, web-based intercom devices and related services, just to get more clarification of the cost and of the scope of that item.
Item 7.10. Yes, I see it. Okay. Board members, do I have a motion to remove the items on the consent agenda, item 17.13? I'm sorry, item 7.03?
From the consent agenda for discussion.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? No?
No second.
No. Motion fails. Dr. Murphy, would you like to share more about why you'd like this removed?
Surely, Dr. Therese. In reviewing some of our past meetings, I've been very considerate about, from my own perspective, not approving items unless I have a better understanding of the cost and of the scope. And so, as part of my responsibility as a board member, I've decided to make certain to review the consent agenda items so that I might bring those to the attention of the full board and of the community if necessary. And this item number 7.03 certainly is one that I think we could benefit from knowing more about. And I think that's the purpose. I know that's the purpose. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. Mr. Pereira, to remove an item from the consent agenda, does it have to take a vote, or is that simply a courtesy to the board so that we can discuss it and bring it back up for a vote at another time?
I think one thing I would suggest is that as we go through the consent items, perhaps staff is available to maybe comment on that item. Routinely, as we go through the consent agenda, I noticed that the superintendent offers that opportunity. So that might assist, and then Dr. Murphy could ask questions about that.
and then
Yes.
you can leave it on the consent agenda. That would be my advice.
Thank you.
Dr. Watts.
Thank you, Chairperson Dr. Therese. At this time, I would call Mr. Glenn Melendez to the podium to answer any questions that our board may have, or specifically Dr. Murphy. Mr. Melendez?
Good evening, Dr. Therese, members of the board, Dr. Murphy, Superintendent Watts. Glenn Melendez, Chief Technology Officer. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
What these devices are,
Sure.
how they'll be used, especially the related services, and then the cost.
Sure. This is actually the intercom systems in the classrooms. The intercom systems in the classrooms are old and antiquated. In some cases, they haven't been replaced in over 20 years. They are on an old analog system. This will bring them to a digital system. But I think most importantly, these systems integrate with the front office. So if there needs to be a communication with the front office, that's possible. But even more importantly, they integrate with our SROs for security purposes as well. There is a $10 million cost, but again, these haven't been upgraded, some of them in 20 years. So that's generally the purpose of the intercom systems.
Thank you, Mr. Menendez. And for the $10 million cost, how will that be presented to the board in increments or all at one time? And when I say increments, I mean different budgets that are presented to the board. Our limit, I believe, of approval for one item is $1 million.
That's a very good question. These are for about 33 elementary schools. It's about the work that can be done within the budget year. So there will be another ask to outfit the rest of the schools, but this covers 33 schools.
And when you present this to us on the consent agenda, will you present this as an item that will cost $10 million so that will alert us?
More or less. I have not scoped out the remaining schools that have not yet come before you, but more or less, there'll be one more ask after this, and that would be for next budget year.
And I really do appreciate that. We talk about transparency, and I think we've done a very good job with our school system's $2.86 billion budget, but especially as we come toward review of the budget for the year ahead, and really our 5-year budget for the year ahead. I believe the more watchful we can be to assure our constituency that all is well. So thank you very much for your response to my question. I don't see other items on the consent agenda for this period that relate to you,
That is correct.
but I thank you for taking the question.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez.
Thank you, Dr. Watts.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy.
Dr. Murphy, I'd like to also share that certainly I appreciate the question and even the charge around creating a transparency related to our budget. And I would like for our board to certainly, and working with our school system, to consider items on the consent agenda for us to have the information available up front for our board members to review prior to the session. And I think that would certainly be helpful for us to understand better the nuances around some of these costs. So I certainly appreciate your responsible leadership and perspective in this way.
I
Thank you.
appreciate your support, Dr. Therese, and appreciate your leadership.
And, I'd like to actually tack on to that. In one of the efforts for transparency, Dr. Watts, one of the things I do appreciate, and this is something that was long asked for by many of our teachers and constituents, was actually, instead of having the summary budget up there for everyone, now you actually put the 1,000-page budget so that there's a little bit more transparency out there. And I know you are working through even more transparency. And even if you help us understand the line items, but I think we're getting there to that point now where Dr. Murphy's asking just even what's built into some of those line items in your 1,000-page detailed budget that we now finally put that up onto our website for everyone to see, where we didn't have that before. So, thank you for trying to help with the transparency in the short amount of time. I know it's been very difficult to just even get that information out there. Thank you.
I just want to make a quick comment. our board norms really referred to one of the things about having no surprises. This is somewhat of a surprise for Dr. Watts, for the staff. They're prepared. Appreciate that, Mr. Melendez. But I would say that there was documentation in our agenda that could have been reviewed prior to this. And if there were questions or concerns, we should be reaching out to Dr. Watts ahead of time so that we're dealing with it in an orderly fashion. That way, it could not be on the consent agenda. The idea is obviously these are areas that are done on a regular basis and should be handled expeditiously. And I just throw that out there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knudsen. That is absolutely accurate. But there also is a provision in terms of the consent agenda that even at the time, according to board policy, that even at the time of the meeting, if we find an item on the consent agenda about which we have questions, we are free to do that. And I think that supports the benefit of both methods to provide our community with transparency. By no means do I ask you to infer that I'm questioning the board or the system, but rather I am asking for clarification. And thank you for taking it in that spirit.
And finally, Dr. Murphy, there is a question that does ask for board to provide any suggestions related to any items to be clarified or removed or even discussed. So there is space for that. So thank you. Okay. We will now move on to the first item on the consent agenda, which is 7.02, purchase orders. This is an informational item and is comprised of a monthly report that lists all purchase orders of $2,000 or more. For each item, the following are identified: the vendor, items purchased, destination of the items, budget account, dollar amount, and method of purchase. Board members, are there any comments or questions?
Where are the purchase orders? Where is this report located?
The purchase orders are
The
on our
monthly
website.
report, is that a report that we're supposed to have access to?
It was attached to the agenda that you had access to
In the email.
in the.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we all have lots of emails, certainly, from constituents and from our system. So we appreciate the information. Thank you. The action items on the consent agenda are 7.03 GA-192 in-or web-based intercom devices and related services. 7.04 GA-1903 in-or Apple products. 7.05 B2340 KM on-demand painting services. 7.06 GA-1807 in-or gas and diesel fuel. 7.07 53 Gwinnett Drive Facilities and Operations Campus, permanent utility and temporary construction easements. 7.08 382 Stone Mountain Street, Lawrenceville Bus Lot, permanent utility and temporary construction easements. 7.09 Certificate of Completion. 7.10 Approval of minutes for January 19, 2023. Do I have a motion regarding the action items on the consent agenda?
And Dr. Dries, excuse me, the item .703, we did set aside with our discussion. And so I don't believe that it would be included.
Item 7.03 will be removed from the consent agenda.
And then we did discuss it.
We did discuss it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Board members, do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we approve item 7.03, I'm sorry, and 7.010 on the consent agenda.
We removed it, so we have to redo so the motion is 7.04 to 7.10.
Excellent. If I might correct myself, I make a motion that we approve item 7.04 to item 7.10 on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Do I have a second? Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Dr. Watts, we now move on to your superintendent reports.
Thank you, Chairperson Dr. Therese. Item 8.01. Board members, you've heard the monthly human resources report this afternoon in executive session that included a list of all employees being hired, taking a leave of absence, and terminating employment. I'd like to call attention to the leadership appointments that were discussed in executive session and are being recommended to you for approval along with the other personnel mentioned in executive session. First, Ashley Coughlin for the position of principal at Berkeley Lake Elementary School with an effective date of March 1st, 2023. Second, Stacy Pickett for the position of principal at White Oak Elementary School with an effective date of April 3rd, 2023. And third, Lisa Watkins for the position of Executive Director of Instructional Technology and Innovation in the Division of Technology and Innovation with an effective date of February 24th, 2023. Members of the board, I recommend approval of the monthly human resources report.
Board members, do I have a motion regarding the personnel report?
I make a motion to approve the human resources report.
Motion by Vice Chair Knudsen. Do I have a second? Okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. It's unanimous. Dr. Watts?
Thank you, Chairperson Dr. Therese. 8.02, the monthly financial report. Item 8.02 is, in fact, the monthly financial report as of December 31st, 2022. Those reports are from the financial records kept at the central office and do not include local school financial records that reflect receipts and disbursements at each school. It also includes a copy of our sales tax receipts for SPLOST 6. I recommend approval of the monthly financial report.
Board members, do I have a motion regarding the monthly financial report?
I make a motion to approve the December 31st, 2022 monthly financial report.
Is there a second? Okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. It's unanimous. Dr. Watts, next item.
Thank you, Chairperson Dr. Therese. Item 8.03 on the agenda, 2022 through 2027 Building Program and Construction Report is for your information only. Please note that this report is a list of all construction projects funded by the 2022 through 2027 Building Program budget. It also provides the current status of each project as well as the scheduled completion of the project. If any of you, would like to receive an update on any specific project, Mr. Walt Martin is here and can give you that information. Here we go.
Board members, are there any questions? Okay. Dr. Watts.
Chairperson Dr. Therese, members of the board, know that the board approved the FY 2024 budget development calendar in October 2022. The 2023 board meeting dates ratified by the board in January 2023 necessitated change to the FY 2024 budget development calendar. The date of the April 20th board budget work session should be changed to April 27th. That change is made to align with the rescheduling of the April board meeting. I recommend the approval of modifying the FY 2024 budget development calendar, changing the April 20th, 2023 board budget work session to April 27th, 2023, for the purpose of aligning with the April board business meeting.
Board members, do I have a motion regarding the budget development calendar?
I make a motion to approve the amended budget development calendar as recommended by the superintendent to align the April board budget work session with the April board business meeting.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. It's unanimous. Move to student discipline. By law, matters related to student discipline appeals, expulsions, and/or petitions for readmission must be discussed in executive or closed session. Georgia law further requires board members to affirm in the public business meeting the action item taken in executive session. The first item of business under student discipline is a monthly tribunal summary. Board members, do I have a motion regarding the monthly tribunal summary as presented in executive session?
I make a motion to affirm the action taken in executive session regarding the monthly tribunal summary.
Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. It's unanimous. Board members, do I have a motion regarding the discipline appeals as presented in executive session?
I make a motion to affirm the action taken in executive session regarding the student discipline appeals.
Do I have a second? The motion seconded by Ms. Karen Watkins. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Nay. It's expulsion. Oh, we don't have. Oh, expulsions. Board members, do I have a motion regarding the expulsion as presented in executive session?
I make a motion to affirm the action taken in executive session regarding a student expulsion.
Motion seconded by Mr. Kennison. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. It's unanimous. We move next to the citizens and groups addressing the board. A maximum of 20 speaker slots will be available for each month for the public comment or on school policy or operations section, with up to 50% reserved for students. In any case, where more speakers signed up than the number of speaker slots available, there will be a lottery implemented to select speakers. Those selected to participate were notified via email this morning. Each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes for comments. At this time, Noor Ali, please approach the podium closest to you. And next is Robert Nowland. You are on deck on the other podium. Thank you. Noor Ali. Okay. Next is Robert Nowland. Okay. Dr. Kirk Bice.
Good evening, and thank you all for your attention. The reports about Gwinnett's teacher retention rate, especially at Title I schools, are disheartening but should not have been unexpected. I taught at 3 different high schools for 30 years here in Gwinnett, and in preparation to run for the school board, I've substituted at nearly 40 different elementary and middle schools over the past 2 years, both Title I and non-Title I schools. Now, some people think that teaching at a Title I school is the same as at a non-Title I school, but it isn't. And everyone needs to recognize and acknowledge that fact before attempting to tackle teacher retention. Teachers at all our schools do the best they can with the students who walk into their classrooms. But if you're teaching at Gwinnett School of Math, Science, and Technology, then the students who walk in are pretty good, both in their academics and their behavior. Now imagine if tomorrow we swapped the teachers from GSMST with those from Meadow Creek High School, where I started back in '87, or Shiloh High School, where I finished in 2017. Does anyone believe that the Meadow Creek or Shiloh students would be magically transformed into Rhodes Scholars by their new teachers, or that the students at GSMST would be struggling with their academics? The problem of teacher retention is not the teachers. Simply put, there are more challenges teaching at a Title I school, and therefore more teacher turnover at Title I schools. So how do we convince Title I teachers to stay when right now there's not much incentive for them to stay? You could try allowing Title I teachers to wear jeans every day, or recognize staff members who stay for 5, 10, 15 years or longer with their name on a plaque. At all levels, insist that Title I administrators give their teachers a duty-free lunch, which is rare. Insist on fewer meetings and less paperwork at Title I schools. You could allow Title I teachers to interview and select their administrative team. They will then know they'll be supported by their administration. Extra money's nice, and no one is going to turn it down, but what would happen if the bonuses were only given to Title I staff? Probably the best thing to do is ask teachers and administrators at Title I schools, what can we take off of your plate? You don't need to pay a consultant to discover why we have a teacher retention problem. The challenges are greater at a Title I school. So perhaps the question should not be, how do we get Title I teachers to stay at schools where there are more required meetings, more required paperwork, more behavior problems, and more academic deficiencies, and instead ask, why should they stay? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jeff Allen, and after Jeff Allen is Sharice Barnes.
Good evening. I'd like to talk to you tonight about the discipline policy that was paused before winter break but is not over. It all started at a work session in August where the board was shown Gwinnett's tribunal outcomes compared with that of other metro counties. It was shown that in 2019, Gwinnett's tribunals ended in alternative schooling more than all other metro counties combined. From an open records request, I now have the data from all the other metro counties. You see, I was curious, what were the outcomes of their tribunals? The records show that since 2017, Gwinnett consistently ranked at the second lowest for all expulsions across all counties. So while our tribunals were providing a future and an education for our troubled students, the other counties were just kicking them out. You made a pivotal decision while only looking at one metric of an extremely complex, multifaceted, and shall I say, intersectional issue. Now, you're all extremely educated. There's more degrees in front of me than on a thermometer. So I know you understand the concept of confirmation bias. You went looking for data that supported your narrative and you found it, but you didn't ask enough questions and you stopped digging before you should have. I was able to squeeze a 4-year degree into 10 years of college and I figured this out. So shame on you guys for not figuring it out. So I was also curious about all the changes that were made to the policy and how it happened so fast. So I went and filed another open records request, and I now have that answer too. I have an email communication thread between a Marilyn Tillman and the school board. It's very enthusiastic replies back and forth about a meeting that took place. In the email, okay, so Tillman is an organizer for an activist group known as Gwinnett Stop. In this email to the board, she directed them to a Google document that clearly outlined in detail suggested changes to the discipline policy. By my count, of the 14 suggestions she made, the board complied with 9. Those 9 unraveled the school system. Ironically, STOP believes in a theory that excessive expulsions destine kids to prison. And we now know Gwinnett was not excessively expelling anyone. This theory is less than 10 years old and it's unproven. Do any of you know if Mrs. Tillman or Gwinnett Stop have any experience writing school district policy?
We can't direct.
School discipline policy. I'm sorry? If she has no experience writing school district policy, I don't understand why she was given the privilege to write policy for the 13th largest school district in the nation. I'm part of an organization of concerned Gwinnett parents.
Yes, you can mention a constituent, but not names.
Okay. I'm part of an organization of concerned Gwinnett parents. If we call ourselves activists, can we also write school policy?
Thank you. Next, we have Sharice Barnes. Next, we have Sharice Barnes and Lynn Pham.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Pham, and I'm an ESOL teacher and a parent. Before I came to Gwinnett, I worked at a Title I school in a neighboring county. It was a rough school, and it was so rough that when I returned to education, I was always poised to break up fights or get cussed out. Despite this, I stayed there for 10 years because I was making a difference. I've won Star Teacher twice and even attended wedding and baby showers for former students. One of my graduates went on to attend Harvard with a former GCPS board member, and now she's a screenwriter for Grey's Anatomy. All of this is to say, I'm a perfect example of how to retain teachers at Title I schools, and it's not more money. I love teaching, and I was able to do it well because I felt safe. When a kid postured to hit me, while I did worry about getting hurt, I never had to worry about the kid's punishment because I knew intuitively that my principal would enforce consequences. It's easy to look at discipline numbers and make sweeping generalizations about what is happening at the schools. But just as every student is unique, each school is the same. Some will have a lot of referrals, others will not. A board member has asked why discipline issues were increasing. Here's the answer. Take the example about student getting referrals for rolling their eyes. No teacher I know of goes to this job saying, let me write as many referrals as I can. It's a last resort. If the situation has happened multiple times and attention and a parent phone call hasn't worked, then consequences must escalate. Why? Because of school culture. If students see a classmate disrespecting a teacher, but that student receives no consequences, then they too will feel emboldened to do the same. The situation will have a domino effect. So when you discuss how dress codes, tardies, and skipping schools are small problems, please remember the words of last year's Teacher of the Year, Lee Allen, who said, when little things don't matter, nothing matters. Here's my solution. Please come substitute for a day, and you'll quickly understand the importance of letting schools handle their discipline. Don't compare data from school to school, or even school districts to school districts. Students are not the same across the board, and no one knows that better than the people who work there. Focus your energy on things that will make a difference in teacher retention. I do appreciate your efforts in making classroom sizes smaller, but there are other things you can do, such as re-implementing the technical track. Not all students will go to college, and that's perfectly fine. I have plenty of former students who work jobs that require only a license, and they make a lot more money than me. Create more theme schools to cater student interests. Engaged student means less discipline problems. And no, theme schools are not inequitable. Don't underestimate the willpower of a parent to give their child a better education, a better life. It's why my parents left Vietnam on a boat, risking their lives, my brother's lives, and my life. And that's why parents are willing to pay a premium for a house in a good school district. If you don't give students the opportunity to attend a school that sparks their interest, how are they going to be able to find their passion? This is especially important for immigrant kids whose parents don't know about the different types of careers that exist in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel McKenzie, and after Rachel McKenzie, we have Marsha Known.
Superintendent, ladies and
You're
gentlemen of the
Rachel
board.
or Marsha?
No, I'm Marcia, sorry.
How do you say your last name?
Cowan.
Cowan, thank you.
My name is Marcia Cowan. I have 2 children here in Gwinnett County, and both are students at Brickwood High School. I'm here today to seek the board's consideration on an exemption for live streaming to be done for the Gwinnett County schools for broadcasting eSport matches. My oldest son was a proud Brickwood Bronco football player for all 4 years of high school. He's a graduating senior this year. Each game was a community event, and this past season, the Bronco games were televised 5 times. One was on ESPN to an international audience. However, because of the streaming policy currently in place, no one can watch any Gwinnett County esports events on any platform. I'm asking that every sport in Gwinnett County be treated equally. Currently, every sport is allowed spectators except one. Without spectators, there is no community involvement, and these kids deserve more. As a parent, I understand completely the policy banning streaming activities on campus as it pertains to cell phones and other portable devices. However, the application of this policy to a sporting event where the competition is taking place solely in the digital realm is unnecessary. As a result of the application of the policy to esports, the Gwinnett County participants are at a disadvantage when it comes to fundraising, scholarships, and college recruiting. Yes, colleges are starting to recruit esports. Esports is the fastest growing spectator sport in the world. Other GHSA member schools do not have restrictions in place and have a distinct advantage over us because of this. Here are just a few facts to consider. The total market value of the esports industry exceeded $1 billion in 2021. The top esports team by earnings has won almost $40 million in prize money. The top earning esports player has won over $7 million. The most viewed esports tournament reached over 5 million viewers. Gwinnett County schools take great pride in competing at the highest levels for state championships in football, basketball, baseball, soccer, and a host of other sports. I want our esports teams to have the same opportunities as every other GHSA school, and allowing the matches to be streamed will do just that. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Tonight, I'm here to beg, plead, and appeal to your sense of right and wrong. The board must inform the super within 90 days of his contract being up if they intend to renew. I implore you to tell him tonight that you're not going to do so. I know you don't want to fire him. I also know you don't want to retain him. And why should you? Let's just briefly hit the facts. Under his direction, the system was put into a social experiment sold by the ASA with his buddies like Morton Sherman, who was also on the board of Modern Teacher. Trying to get Modern Teacher into Kent got you hit with a legal complaint about breaching fiduciary and ethical duty. The same complaint talked about you taking money from ERDI, which is run by Joseph Wise, the same person who runs and founded Acceleration Academy, which you've obligated us to for 3 years as of June 2022. You've already been slapped once for associating with these people, yet you jumped right back in with them. Joseph Wise has a long record of misdeeds and fraud that a simple Google search can show. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If we decide to get out of that program, it could cost us up to $5 million per year. Why did we need a program for dropouts when we already had something similar in Graduate Gwinnett? Simply mentioning this program online got somebody hit with a cease and desist letter. Makes me wonder what's really going on there. Why did we get into an agreement with Keymakers of Oakland? And wasn't it ironic that it was $960,000 when it takes $1 million for a board-approved contract? Sounds an awful lot like big rigging, in my opinion. Now, your restorative circle that you guys had back in August, the same people that were complaining about cronyism and nepotism under Wilbanks were all in attendance to that meeting. The NAACP, STOP, Southern Poverty Law Center, even the Gwinnett Democratic Women. This was billed as a meeting with community leaders, but in reality, it's the same special interest groups who seem to have their hand in every aspect of everything going wrong in our system. The same groups who oversaw your new discipline actions. The same groups who screamed about needing a seat at your table. They seem to be the only people at the table. They didn't want to be heard. They wanted power, and you handed it over in exchange for what? Their suggestions and demands gave us an increase in discipline issues so bad we had to quit it in December, have emergency meetings about it. Kids are terrified and teachers are leaving. But you labeled these folks as community leaders. Leaders take charge and set example. You're reactive to your own poor decisions. Your poor judgment of your inner circle is why we are where we are. I'm sure you're a nice guy. You're just not cut out for the job. Byron Howard told a member of that circle an equity reassessment's taking place. That's why many old teachers and leaders are leaving
Please don't mention any specific
GCPS.
names.
I told y'all months ago that all this chaos was just a hope to run off our most experienced and talented staff for new people who would do whatever you wanted. Instead, we have teachers leaving, and you guys can't even fill those holes because no one wants to work for you. So, board, I'm begging you, let our teachers and parents know as soon as possible that July will be the end of an era. You put a crown on a clown and expected him to be king, and instead you've made our school system a circus. So please fix it. Please. Steve, welcome back. Please vote.
Next, we have Joshana Graves, and after Joshana Graves is Don Tam. Next, we have Kathy Lowe, and after Kathy Lowe is Frank Buckley. Oh, Don Tam, yes. Yes. She spoke earlier.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak in front of you. I don't have anything to read. I always speak out of passions, what I believe in. I don't have kid in school. They're all adult now. So technically I can just walk away and this is not my burden. But when I see Gwinnett being #1 in the nation, leading the nation in 13% teacher left the school district, it doesn't make me proud because I consider this county is one of the founding fathers' county. And this is a place where we're supposed to be proud of. And the 13% of teachers left the school because of what? And some because of safety, because of violence in school. And it's related to disciplinary or the administrative. I don't know, I don't have the record, but I want to bring it up to you in the sense that I respect your positions and I respect the statement that you have in the school board website. A lot of time I see people do bad things, but putting a good title on it, I'm not accusing you are that person. A good old Buddha said, you know, in any good thing that we do, there's some bad come with it. And as much as we want to connect to the student and make sure they got the education, equality of education, we have to be prepared for something that bad that could happen from it. As much as you want to engage to bring this student that is not disciplined back to the system, that's who we are, that's how we educate them. But you have to be careful at school. Who are you going to find to teach them? Someone very inexperienced. Now you are really treating, you know, the student that deserve a better teacher, and you're giving them a very, very bad choice to be there. So I just wanted to speak my mind and want the board to consider that. If you really do this for the kid, do it for the kid. Don't do it for any other reason, but for the kid. Not one kid, all kids, right? So please do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have Kathy Lowe, and after Kathy, Frank Buckley.
On December 2nd, 268 teacher vacancies were listed on the GCPF's website. This week, 493 teacher vacancies, and the contract cycle hasn't even begun. I have been a parent in the school system for 20 years, and I can assure you that teachers are what makes our schools successful. My kids have been exposed to over 200 teachers in the Norcross cluster, and all have exceeded expectations. Teachers are afraid of retribution for speaking out. I was asked to read the following anonymously. Have you ever considered investing time and money into those who are already employed? A sign-on bonus just gets people in the door. It doesn't mean people will stay. You are offering a sign-on bonus up to $6,000. What are you offering your current teachers? Research proves employers save money by investing in current employees. Turnover is costly. Sign-on bonuses encourage a quick money fix. I don't know of one teacher that is motivated to teach for the money. People are encouraged to apply without teacher certification. That is truly a frightening thought. Show your current teachers GCPS values their experience by providing bonuses for longevity. Do not end the step increase at 28 years. GCPS must remain competitive with surrounding counties. For example, Cobb is currently paying their teachers $10,000 more than Gwinnett. Cobb has recently launched an incredible incentive for earning advanced degrees at no cost to the teachers. Master's, specialist, doctorate degrees through a partnership with the University of West Georgia. The board has been invited several times to teach in a classroom. Have any of you accepted the invitation? You claim to stop by and walk the halls of a school, but you're really just visiting select schools and not all the schools you serve. Stay with the teacher in their classrooms. Meet with the parents. watch the interactions or substitute for a day or two. It should help with the shortage we already have in our schools. How can you truly know and understand what is going on if you do not witness what happens? Host town hall meetings with teachers and staff by clusters or districts, not meetings with members handpicked by their principals because they know they won't rock the boat. We are talking about meetings where we can ask questions and bring to light problems without fear of reprimand. From those town hall meetings, use committees to create and implement action plans to address the needs of our schools from the inside out. Lastly, are exit interviews provided to the teachers leaving?
Thank you. Next, we have Frank Buckley, and after Frank is Joel.
Good evening. My name is Frank Buckley. I'm a qualified, certified K-8 math teacher with 20 plus years of experience. I have coached football, basketball, baseball, track, tennis, volleyball, softball, and taught drama. I stand before you tonight in extreme distress, and I'm sending out an SOS, imploring this board to help save our students. I'm certain that we all can agree that student success begins with having highly qualified teachers in the classroom and administrative team that support and cares about them. Gwinnett County School Teacher Transfer Policy is prohibiting great teachers from continuing to work in the district. When satisfying the 3-year requirements present challenge, being devalued, discriminated against, working in an unhealthy and unsafe environment, administration that violates the code of ethics and do not follow district policies on promotion and retention, or use marijuana and vaping on school grounds. These are the type of things that are going on in the school in which I work. And that's why then they tell you you can't transfer because you haven't been there 3 years. It forces qualified, caring, and engaged teachers to have to leave Gwinnett County. I witnessed a lot of great teachers leave the district over the last 2 years, but I have a desire and a commitment to teaching the community where my family, friends, and I live. I have family that attend Gwinnett County Public Schools. I pay taxes and vote in Gwinnett County. And Gwinnett County Public School District is said to be one of the best school districts in the state of Georgia. Why would I leave? A group of teachers were told in the meeting that they should leave if they did not like what was going on at the school. And what they didn't like was that students were being promoted, but they were not learning. So we were told, if you don't like what's going on, you could leave. That year, a lot of teachers left. This year, more of them are going to follow. Why would Gwinnett County not do whatever it takes to retain qualified teachers? Teachers were forced to keep secrets and tell lies to parents and students. The teachers were told to tell parents and students in December 2022 that the teachers would not know their first semester exam grade until January 2023, when the teachers knew the exam grade 5 minutes after the students finished taking their exam. Teachers were being told, but refused to be put in writing, that they, teachers, could resign and reapply. I can't believe what they said because I see what they do. I will close with this. What's standing in the way of us saving our students? It's not about black, brown, or white. It's not about
Thank
red
you.
Republicans. Okay.
Now we have Joel. Thank you. Joel Kanzelmeyer.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the board. I have come here to add my voice to the resounding chorus of voices of people who have spoken out against the sex education program that we are considering moving to. I'm not one to normally come up here and do this. The fact that I'm here right now says a lot, honestly. I'm a parent of 2 young children, one in kindergarten and one in 2nd grade. Been a proud Gwinnett citizen my whole life. I went to Grayson Elementary School, McConnell Middle, and then Grayson High School, graduated from there. I received a great education, great sex education. And I think you can see from the evidence in the public review that 90% of parents are against this. You've seen the evidence. Why would we consider a change that the community, the people who have spoken before me have documented a lot of other evidence, but we've spoken out against. I implore you to please consider sticking with the Choosing the Best Sex Education program and do this for our children, for the sake of the parents who are pleading their cases to you. We don't do this lightly. This is our children, and we're very concerned about the things that they're being taught in schools. And I never thought that it would come to this. Honestly, I saw a lot of progressive politics in California and New York and in other areas, and I said that's never going to happen here. And it's actually, I'm actually afraid that it is kind of starting to happen here with the progressive gender ideology and other things that I just don't want my kids learning. And I'm afraid that other parents are in the same boat as me and might pull their kids out of school if this does, get adopted. So anyways, I implore you to please just, take the responsibilities that we've given you and as, elected officials and, consider the voice of the public when you make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our constituents who spoke today. We appreciate your voices. Now we will turn it over to our board for comments.
Thank you, Dr. Therese. And this marks month number 2 for me as a new board member. I truly appreciate all the grace that my colleagues have extended me and constituents as well as I continue to learn about your needs and to advocate. I appreciate it truly. It was a pleasure to hear from the Shiloh Cluster Generals this evening. Dr. Dollard's message of we are relentless truly resonated. It was truly heartwarming to hear that the Shiloh Cluster has increased their graduation rate in 2022. They increased it by the highest rate within the district. And so I continue to look forward to hear the good news as I visit schools and hear from the community about what's working well. And so in thinking about being relentless, earlier today we heard from several of our district leaders about the initiatives that are being implemented. We were able to hear about the pilots implemented in our schools, some of the instructional resources teachers shared with us, as well as leaders, and provided student perspective as well on how those resources are benefiting our students and meeting their needs and providing some instruction, some relevant instruction. We also heard from our HR division around design teams. And as I hear constituents sharing tonight, the concern with teachers leaving the system, I'm really looking to the design teams being a source of information, providing feedback that will help Gwinnett County to really tap into what our teachers need, what our teachers want, what's going to engage them and motivate them and keep them interested and passionate about serving students here in Gwinnett. And so I appreciate our HR department for opening up the opportunity for more teachers to participate in the design team. So we are getting truly authentic feedback that we can act on to keep our teachers in place. We also heard about the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. And I will say it appears we are relentless in ensuring that our students have a voice and that they're able to share their experiences and what they would like to see in the educational system. So I commend our district on providing that opportunity, on implementing a student voice summit. And our students are wanting to hear more about mental health resources. They want to hear more about belonging and inclusion. And I'm looking forward to them sharing what it is that they would like to see, what's lacking, how we can help them to feel better supported, how we can help them to feel safe, how we can increase that feeling of inclusiveness so that we can have a reduction in the behaviors that take away from instruction and ensure that our students are achieving at high levels. Lastly, in thinking about Relentless and the fact that Black History Month is ending and Women's History Month is beginning, I'm thinking about Dr. Macy Jemison, and she is a physician and astronaut that was the first African-American to go into outer space. And in thinking about her accomplishments, I'm looking forward to the students that I'll get to observe tomorrow at our Gwinnett Science, Engineering, and Innovation Fair. And I'm looking forward to seeing representation of our students, the diversity that will be represented in their innovative ideas, in demonstrating their learning and sharing with us their interest. I'm looking forward to students being able to just express themselves in a way academically that will show that they are in fact learning at high levels, that they are engaged in the process, and that they are and prepared for tomorrow, and they are prepared to be our leaders. So again, I commend our district for all that they're doing to elevate staff voice, teacher voice, student voice. And at the end, we're all looking forward to our students performing at very high levels, and it definitely takes a team. And so I'm glad to have made it through month number 2, and I look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Therese. Well, Dr. Simmons, congratulations on your second meeting. We're delighted to have you, and we're very appreciative of what you're contributing to our board. And I'd like now to congratulate Mr. Knudsen on becoming vice chairman of our board, and Dr. Therese, with you serving as chairman and Mr. Knudsen as vice chairman, we will continue on a path that you created for us last year. I'm very, very appreciative of it. And Ms. Watkins, it's great for you to be my seatmate. And we appreciate very much the chance to work together on the board. I want to thank all of those of you who've contacted me and come here to the board to speak on the topic that several of you have brought to us this evening. It was the topic of a good bit of our work session earlier today, and it has to do with the adoption process that is underway. It's been underway since October of 2022 for the adoption process of several textbook materials, language arts among them. Number 7 in the list, health and sex education. I brought to Dr. Watts to your attention over the last 2 board meetings concerns that have come to me from constituents who've understood about the importance of the decision about which materials to use for sex education. And I thank you for listening, Dr. Watts, and for having Dr. West contribute information to advise me better on what the process has been. And so I'd like to share with the community tonight the concern that I have as a result of these inquiries about the vote that we have scheduled for next board meeting, March 16th, 2023. At that meeting, our board will be asked to approve the adoption process of all of the materials that relate to those discussed earlier in the day, but most especially health and sex education. Of the parents who've been concerned and contacted me, these are some of their very, very most important concerns. That there is a need for parents to have an opt-out process related to a pilot program of sex education. It has been their experience that that opt-out process has not been available. Our school system is eager to work with parents to clarify what the process is for opting out of pilot and regularly scheduled programs. Of those parents or community members who observed the pilot program, they were asked to complete a survey. And the survey is one that's going to be shared with our school board. We received assurance earlier today that these materials, which we don't have right now, will be shared with the board. The materials that I have were provided to me by constituents, and they relate to the public review summary of the pilot program. And the concerns that have been addressed give us to understand that 90% of the pilot participants voted against the Health Smart materials that are being proposed by the advisory committee and the other committees that are responsible for what we'll be voting on next month. There's a great concern that with 90% of the participants opposing these materials, how can it be then that there's support on the part of the committee bringing this to our attention? Another concern that parents have very clearly evidenced in their comments to me, they want to be a part of the adoption process. In October of 2022, there was an open period for the community to make comments, I believe from October 1st to October 31st. But that process has not been available as many more parents have come to understand the importance of this vote. Many of those parents spoke to us this evening, and we've heard from them at other board meetings as well. Their concerns relate to the publication and the publicity not being clear to parents who feel left out, and their concern that choosing the best does not reflect the community values that they adhere to and that they are aware of others adhering to. Those community values likely are different from the district philosophy that is proposing to leave out of the equation for the vote, choosing the best. The community values that they relate to are abstinence before marriage, respect for the physical and mental health of the children that they are raising, and the right of parents to be the first teachers of their children. We will have an opportunity as March comes for our community to be aware of opportunities to share with our board and with others in the community whether this is the approach you want to take. It will be an approach if the vote relates to choosing the best, being left out. It will be a different health curriculum than we've had previously. As we were told today, the reason for the change is that comprehensive health education is what is called for, not sex education. There is a big difference between the two, we've been told. So I just ask our community to be alert. And Dr. Watts, I want to thank you again for being responsive. And I know that you'll be listening to our community as well. With so many other things that are at the top of our list, this topic remains very, very important to our community. And one I hope that we will hear from you whether you want to move forward or reject the proposed curriculum of health and sex education. Thank you very much, Dr. Therese.
Chairperson Dr. Therese, Vice Chair Knudsen, and thank you for hosting the meeting here and also to helping to host a discussion this afternoon with the working session. I think we had a really engaging working session. I'm actually really proud of this working session. Lots of thoughts, lots of questions that came out of it. And again, I encourage each and every one of you to watch that working session because there are a lot of things that can actually help answer many of the concerns that you have, and or you can come and bring those concerns right to our curriculum department, Dr. Watts, and everyone to see if you need more clarification. Please do not allow fear or misinformation drive any of your decisions, and really try to understand process and understand facts and why things are done, why the process was done the way it was, which is the similar process from before I even came on. Some tweaks to it. So there's some things that, to help make sure that we have more engagement. So I think the tweaks were more in a positive effort because that was some of the guidance we gave and suggestions we gave from the board to help make sure that it's more inclusive and understanding and reflecting what is our community today. So again, amazing work session. Some of the things we did get out of it was working towards building a strong curriculum, understanding how to get there, which includes state standards. Remember that state standards, we are driven by the state. Research and evidence, district expectation, and student needs. Remember, our student needs have changed over the past 20 years. We have a very different population that is reflected today, very, very different population, and resource sustainability, and ensuring that everything is aligned. Some great questions came out, and Dr. Murphy, you brought up some of these great questions. I want to reiterate some of that, which came about with reference to the difference between health ed and sex ed. Okay, right now we have a sex ed curriculum, which is add to piece. Health ed would be, my understanding, based off of the work session, more encompassing, okay, which would include health and sex ed together. My understanding is that we, questions came about policy and us having a policy to opt out. Yes, we learned, I think, that we do. And we have state guidance. Again, state standards, guidance from the state. So we also learned that that opt-out is shared at a local level, which has always been the case. That has always been the communication. That is shared at a local level, but there we learned there's also an opportunity for the district to share that as well. Although it wasn't shared before in that capacity, we learned there's an opportunity for that to share it as a district as well, not just at the local level. With reference to choosing the best, there's still some understanding as to why we're trying to understand. Great questions came from Mr. Knudsen, why was, choosing the best eliminated, right? From, and then just trying to understand the Georgia Standards of Excellence and how it impacted many of these changes, just trying to understand that. And why did the teacher committee choose to opt out of choosing the best? Just trying to understand that a little bit more. Again, watch the work session. And then also with reference to the survey, Dr. Murphy had lots of great questions in reference to that again this evening, which, who participated in it? Understanding only 500 people out of 1 million people in Gwinnett County participated in this. Now, is that, the questions more questions could arise. Is that a great sample size to make a determination? These are great questions to talk to our superintendent or our, curriculum to understand, what our process is and understand how we look at information, okay? Some other great things we learned from our work session with reference to everything that's going on in HR. We learned about the Grow Your Own initiatives. I look forward to seeing us, with reference to, giving our teachers the education that they need so that they could thrive here. We are doing a lot of things. I believe someone was mentioning from Cobb County, we have some initiatives that are going forward, like or similar to what Cobb County is providing. If it hasn't been in place already, and also with reference to the teacher retention strategies. Lots of teacher retention strategies. I believe Amma gave some recommendations. We are working through that. Those recommendations just came, in January. It seems as though our HR group is working through those recommendations where there was a lot of feedback given. And also one of the great things, we heard not only about the committee that is helping the advisement committee, is it that where we are, where there are the design committee where we are working to figure out how to engage feedback for teachers to provide information so that we can retain them more. But the one thing we did learn was that we are opening up everything to teachers so that we could gain more of your feedback, so you could be a part of the retention strategies that are out there. And one thing which has never happened before is that we are opening this up and trying to include all teachers. And I hope all teachers will want to participate in wanting to be selected for helping to build these retention strategies and really trying to help our school system change for the better and to help us to retain these teachers, to retain our teachers. That is so important to us. Very, very important. And I hope you all can see how we are moving towards that effort. Things that we are not seeing ever are now happening, especially with reference to teacher retention and other things around social emotional things around our students. These are things that have never happened before, and now they are happening. Whether it's a response to a need or a recent need or a past need, we are doing a lot of great things, and a lot of great things has happened over this year and a half. And I wish, and I want to help you all see that. And in and around student voice, we have the first ever superintendent's student advisory council. They shared with us the selection process is blind selected. It is, something where, we've never had the council before. Now we have grants where students are asking for certain things to help support other students. We did receive a grant from Publix to help support challenges with reference to food and transportation and other resources. These students worked together to figure out what our challenges were, and we got support for it, which is a fabulous thing. And lastly, I would like to thank you, Dr. Watts, your staff, the teams you have built, as well as all the teachers, principals, and APs. I received a lot of feedback from our parents, even some students. And the small changes you have made over this year and a half, those quick wins you were able to do over this year and a half has really changed a lot of lives, from the addition of programs, the increase in parent engagement, the graduation rate increases. We just heard from Shiloh. This is the highest increase we've ever had. And one of our students says, because of the specialty additions we just never had before. And I wanted to say thank you. I know this has been very hard, and we have a lot of negative energy that may be coming through, but I can attest to you that our parents, our students are seeing some of these changes. And thank you all, even to the local level, every last one of these teachers that are spending their time, even with these pilot programs, and the teachers who are doing these above and beyonds for the after school programs, for all the clubs, for everything, giving up their time and energy, anything to support our kids and really trying to follow the blueprint for our future. I want to say thank you to every last one of you all. Thank you. Thank you so much, even during this trying time. Just thank you for trying to help embrace the changes, and thank you for trying to do what's right for our students. I personally appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watkins. I want to thank you all for your input. I always appreciate when the constituents will take the time to come and share with us what's on their mind. I thought Dr. Bice, you had some great points. I've been challenged. A couple of people said to substitute. Just so you know, I've actually looked into that, and they won't let me do it for liability reasons. because I was challenged by that. And so there's something there about me that maybe it's not just me, but there are those of us who want to know what's going on in the classroom. And we do look into it. And we spend the time trying to figure it out. But we do thank you for your input. I want to thank the staff always. I think our staff are as dedicated as anybody and in education, and they always do an incredible job. It always comes out in the form of things like the champions that we were able to honor today. I love that part of our program, to be able to say congratulations to state champions like the football team and the cheer team from Mill Creek and the esports team from Duluth. That was fantastic. Ms. Bach, again, a great example of our staff that do above and beyond and incredible things and have those recognitions, and our PBIS distinguished schools and the work that they're doing to help our kids. But I want to spend the remaining few moments of my time talking about the sex ed. And we do have a health ed curriculum, and it does have a component in sex ed that we've used for 20 years. I want to just say that there is a sequence of success, and you can call it what you will, but there is a sequence of success that has dramatic results. I mentioned this during the work session. If you graduate high school, get a job, delay family formation until after marriage, you have a less than 2% chance of ever living at or below the poverty line. You get those three things out of order, you have a greater than 60% chance of living at or below the poverty line. To me, when we start talking about something that has that kind of dramatic impact, we owe it to our constituents and we owe it to our kids to take a closer look, especially when you look through the process. I believe in our process. I think we have a fantastic process. I think for some reason, that process has not been followed like it should have for the consideration of sexual education. And here's why. We had our pilot stuff reviewed, our pilot proposed curriculum reviewed. There was a 90+% rejection of the new materials. For some reason, a program with a 20-year success record was chosen not to be reviewed as one of the options moving forward. I can't figure that out. A 75% decrease in unwanted pregnancy since we implemented Choosing the Best 20 years ago. The last time the staff presented to us, this board, on this issue, Choosing the Best had glowing statistical representation against counties and other districts near us. Student achievement was higher. Anxiety was lower. Risky behaviors were lower. I'm not sure how you can have all of these things line up and then tell me that we need a single new health program with a included sex education module so that it's easier on our staff. I don't want to make this job any harder on anybody, but at the end of the day, I don't want to look at any one of our students and see their life headed in a direction that creates more barriers for them to succeed than fewer. We're in the business of eliminating barriers, not creating barriers. 20 years of experience of success. I would encourage a delay. I'm not sure. I think we deserve someone to kind of explain how a great process that we have and we've had for years that involves community input would come up with this option. It doesn't work for me. And so, we may end up heading down that road, but I think that we deserve, and the constituents that have taken the time to respond to us this evening, and the emails that I continue to get I have yet to receive an email in support of the new program. And yet every day I get emails asking me to reject the change. I just need some more information. I would hope that a school district that's as dedicated to success as Gwinnett is would provide that information. Thank you.
Thank you to our board. I want to start by sharing my deepest condolences to 3 students in our school system. They live in my local community, in my neighborhood, and I'd like to call their names. Jaden Travis, Rodrigo Floriano Mayen, and Susana Morales. May we hold them near and dear in our hearts, and may we ensure that each and every one of our students are protected, feel safe, and secure. We as a board, I personally am committed to caring and to doing whatever I can do to ensure that our children can not only survive, but they can thrive. Rest in peace, Jaden, Rodrigo, and Susana. Also want to thank our counselors, our emergency response team, and the Community Mental Health Task Force for all of their care that they do in the community. They are working together, community members, our school system, doing what they can to provide the resources and support available to our students and their families. Now I want to talk a little bit about our governance team. Mr. Knudsen, Vice Chair Knudsen, I'm glad you're back. And I can't really share any personal things because you didn't right now, but I would like to share with you that my condolences to you. My condolences to you and Mr. Knudsen, your father. May his memory be forever a blessing. Our governance team at this time is in need of stability in our leadership. We've worked together, and the need for consistency as we manage through change needs to be maintained to ensure that each and every child has what they need to be successful. Even in our differences, and you know, we've disagreed a lot. Just so the people out there know that, you know, but we've progressed and we've made some improvements. We've made improvements in our quality, in our quarterly governance training, and we need to continue to evolve, and we know how important it is for continuous quality improvement, and we're committed to that. So it's important that we continue to maintain the leadership of the board to ensure that we hold fast to student outcomes. I know my first year on the board, it was a lot, and it was an amazing opportunity for me to just learn. The first year, like I have over 15 years of experience in education. I still teach part-time to ensure that I'm engaging with kids. I love teaching. I love children. I'm passionate about education. This isn't for me about position or power. This is because I am truly passionate about this role. And it's important that as a first year for me on the board, I just listened, I learned, I represented the community. I fought for our community as best as I could, but certainly I appreciate the experience that we have on our board. I look forward to working with Dr. Simmons. I think you're a brilliant woman, leader, and I look forward to growing and helping to support you and all of our board members as we have learned together. You're our newest member, and I just hope that we all can continue to support you as you are asking questions, and you are also challenging us and bringing this new insight is certainly helpful. So I look forward to continuously working with our board to ensure that we are effective. Knudsen, you know, we've talked about partisanship, and we both are dedicated and very conscious, and certainly I am, and we hold one another accountable to, ensuring that politics doesn't play in this process. We have to focus on our common passion and the common purpose, and that is dedicating ourselves to making the best decisions we can to ensure equity and excellence for each and every child. The other thing is, I'd like to share that it's important for us to ensure that we remember our why. And as for our students, our teachers, our staff, our family members, people will put you in a box. People will try to define who you are. People will provide or create stories and misinformation and disinformation. And I just encourage all of us to stand true to who we are and to not be afraid. Don't worry about, again, position and power or politics. Just focus on doing the right thing. Focus on being successful in anything that you endeavor to achieve. So I'm serving on this board as an advocate, as an artist, as a mother, as an equity professional, as an educator, and I am dedicated to protecting all of our children. So it's February, and February is Black History Month. But one thing that I'm really conscious of also is that every single day is Black History. Black History 365 days of the year. It's not just 1 month where we learn some quotes and listen to music or share stories. We should remember that Black history is American history. Black history is also world history. And I hope that we can continue to celebrate all of the contributions, the voices, the value, and the humanity of Black people and their contributions in the United States and around the world. So I want to end with this a poem I wrote. I'm an artist, I'm a poet, and I'd like to share this. So we have this spiritual in our culture, Black culture. We call it Negro spirituals, and one of the Negro spirituals is Wade in the Water. Wade in the Water has significant meaning for many of us, and it talks about being in this experience of troubled water, and how when we're in these troubled waters, we remain calm, and we are the source of this calm. So even in the troubled waters, we stand strong, and we become stronger and more resilient. And so I'd like to end my final statements with this poem in celebration of Black History Month, and also in honor of our students all of our students who've passed away, in their memory. Wade in the water. We are the promise, and this space of joyful liberation is rooted in knowing where we come from and loving who we are. Embrace the waters to freedom and let the living waters soothe your soul. Come to the sea and proclaim your destiny. Surrender to the tumultuous waters and release your mind to be free. Have faith in the roaring, rough rivers that lead to the open ocean. Experience the pool of peace and be whole and complete in the fullness of grace and glory, because these living waters will deliver you to freedom. Listen. Listen to the whispers of the waters and give your spirit so the depths of the waters may be your soul. You will transform to be the power of the water. Have resilient hope, and your freedom dreams will become a reality. Wade in the water, my children, and be free. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Therese. Members of the board, I echo the sentiments that each one of you has shared this evening. I do want to pay tribute in honor of this last week of Black History Month. And while it is an annual observance, and I always consider myself a teacher, not just in the United States, but in Canada, in the United Kingdom, that celebrates and recognizes the achievements and the contributions of African Americans and people of African descent to society, to history, to culture in general. It's observed in February in the United States and Canada, while in the United Kingdom, it is celebrated in October. Black History Month is an opportunity for us to learn, to celebrate, and to honor the history and the culture of Black people, to acknowledge the impact of their contributions to society, and to recognize the continued struggles, inequalities that many Black people face across nations and across the globe. It is a time to reflect on, however, the ongoing struggle for racial justice, whether it's in our country or in this world, to recommit ourselves to building a more equitable and inclusive society. As I've often shared, diversity, which is Gwinnett County, it's beautiful, rich diversity. That's a fact. We are all different. Now, that's what one comedian said one day, that we're all different, and that's actually what makes us all the same. But the reality is our difference is a fact. And it is undoubtedly appropriate for Gwinnett County Public Schools to celebrate this rich diversity, as over 80% of our students identify as members of communities of color, including Black, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islander, and Native American. And in fact, as of this school year, 1 in 3 of our students in GCPS identify as Black. This diversity, again, is a fact, and it's also a strength of Gwinnett County Public Schools. And I've had the fortune to not only to be a parent of a Gwinnett County Public Schools student who has grown and thrived as a result of matriculating through Gwinnett County in his beginning of his educational career, but it's also an opportunity for us to celebrate this month in our schools by the opportunities that I've had recently to attend cultural events, performances, to read, to share stories about African American history and culture, watching documentaries highlighting Black people's contributions to America, and supporting Black-owned businesses, to name just a few of those opportunities. And what is beautiful about this type of engagement that we are taking part in this evening and the rest of this month and each and every day is that it is not confined to just one day or 1 week or a month each year. This rich diversity in Gwinnett County allows us to engage with and to learn from each other daily. Like Black History Month, Gwinnett County Public Schools celebrates many cultural and immense diversity. Those recognitions happen throughout the school year. We believe truly that this is important for our schools for several reasons. First, among equals, educational equity has been defined by Gwinnett County, and it's called for in our board's policies. Additionally, we believe students and staff in Gwinnett County Public Schools must be culturally aware, learning about other cultures, languages, religions, and holidays aside from their own helps all children, each and every, understand that their classmates might just be different from them, even quite different. But we also believe it's important for students to appreciate those cultural differences, just like the differences we've talked about today, whether it's curricular differences or teaching or learning differences, and thinking about those differences throughout the entire school year. In addition to being aware that our peers' cultures may differ from our very own, it's also important for students to learn about some of the unique and amazing aspects that come from one another's cultures and ways of life. And I'll end by saying, finally, we must understand and know in Gwinnett County Public Schools that celebrating diverse cultures, this brings new thinking dare I say, critical thinking and understanding to light. When we all might see a concept that may be controversial, we might want to shun it or lock it up in a closet and not look at it again. The goal is, as my parents taught me, is to be able to look at something that you might disagree with or talk to someone you might have a concern about and actually think critically about that difference. Learning about others' cultures outside of our very own encourages our students and our staff to not only be creative thinkers, but to thrive together. With that, again, I thank our board. I thank those of you who've remained this evening. And with that, that brings us to our closing. Dr. Therese.
Thank you. If there's no further business, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. It's unanimous. Thank you for attending tonight's board meeting. The board, Superintendent Dr. Watson, I appreciate your attendance and interest in Gwinnett County Public Schools as our public meeting has concluded. Our meeting is adjourned.